So the field of religious studies has generally been a field of the humanities and the social sciences. So where does this fit in to the general discipline of religious studies?
So the Modeling Religion Project uses data and insights that are drawn from the humanities and social scientific approaches to religion. That's where our data comes from. What we do is take that data, turn it into models that you can, plug into a computer and then simulate and get an output, and then go back to the data and see if what we got out of the model matches, what people have found out there in the real world. It's never going to be useful for doing philology, like the study of ancient texts. We need experts in Akkadian, Hebrew, Aramaic, Egyptian. We need people who do the philosophy of religion, who just do the philosophy of religion, or the social scientific study of religion, because those folks are the experts in their fields who produce the data that potentially we can use in our computer simulations. But it is a sort of symbiotic thing, where we can do simulations that make the models really, really regular, but we don't have anything to work with if there's no psychologists of religion, or anthropologists, or text experts, or historians of religion doing their work.
So what are some real-life applications for this sort of research?
So from a real-life or even a policy perspective, some of the work that we're doing in the Modeling Religion Project bears on religious violence, the dynamics, the social dynamics that can generate sort of really stark in-group, out-group boundaries, or sacred values that are incompatible between two groups. So a sacred value is a technical term in cognitive anthropology that refers to, it's a value that a group has that is not something you can trade for anything else. It's just so valuable that there's nothing that you would take in exchange for it. So a sacred value is really different from the types of values that we're used to dealing with in, for example, the secular marketplace, where the phrase is everybody has their price. That's true for a lot of things. I would give up a lot of my physical things for money, sure, if it was enough money. But for something sacred, you won't. And religion, sort of inculcates these sacred values, but sometimes the sacred values of different groups are overlapping or they clash. Like the kinds of conflicts that we're seeing in Israel and Palestine, where Jerusalem is one of the most sacred sites in 3 different world religions. So there's a potential for conflict there. And in a model of religious conflict, we can use sacred values as a sort of instigator to see what kinds of dynamics produce intractable religious conflict or solvable religious conflict. So the results that we're getting, or that we will get from our models of religious violence, can and probably will have real social policy implications in terms of giving insight into when and how religious violence can be expected. To go back to, the shamanism model, every culture has to figure out how to deal with, how it apportions resources and status and prestige, and every culture is going to have certain levels of inequality in them, or in it. And the way that a society makes that decision has a real bearing on quality of life and outcomes and economics and politics. So every culture has to make hard decisions about the fact that you need leadership, right? You need an executive, in a big republic like ours, to make quick decisions when asking 300 million people for their opinions just is not feasible. But as you have a hierarchy like that, you get compounding negative effects for the people who are on the bottom. Every culture has to figure out how to deal with that. If we, through our model, get insight into those dynamics, that can feed back into social policy or academic approaches to, how should we structure society for the long term? Or even smaller, how should we structure companies, communities, churches, that kind of thing.
So that's all for my interview with Dr. Wood. Like I said last episode, I'm including links to his blogs, both Science on Religion and his Huffington Post blog. I really think you should check them out. And also, again, special shout out to Jen Lindsay for helping me make this interview. Let me know if you'd like to see more interviews like this. I, for one, love to connect with other scholars and see what they're researching. The field of religious studies is extremely diverse, so there's always something new being published or researched in this discipline. Thanks again for liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time.